All too often, the victims of road accidents go through the legal and claiming process on their own, but little realizing that acquiring the expertise and the bargaining power of a professional attorney could possibly get them a much better result. Now, with me in studio today is Michael de Broglio from de Broglio Attorneys, who's an expert in road accident and personal injury claims, and he's here to share some of his knowledge with us. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
Very, very well, thank you. Now, you said something to me, telling me that road accidents are actually things that affect people much more than we realize in everyday life.
Yeah, look, in South Africa we talk so much about crime, but I think what we really need to focus on is our roads and road safety. You know, we have over 35 people a day being killed, more than 100 people every day being seriously injured on our roads. So our statistics are horrifying, and basically everybody knows somebody who's either been injured or killed in a motor accident.
And now, where that's concerned, we're going to talk about the RAF, not a retirement annuity fund, but rather the road accident fund. What exactly is that?
Correct. It's a public entity that's set up to compensate people who are injured in accidents for which they're not to blame. And basically, if you want to look at it in a very simple way, it's a compulsory insurance that we all have. Every time you put petrol into your car or diesel, basically you're making a contribution towards the road accident fund, and that covers you in the event that you're in an accident and are not to blame.
Oh, wait, so it's important to know that when you're in an accident, but you are not to blame, then it covers you.
Correct. It's just those two components. Number one, that you're injured, and number two, that you're not to blame. You can be partially to blame and have what lawyers call an apportionment.
An apportionment. Well, with all these terms going on, I guess that's exactly why you'd want to have a legal representation from a professional attorney there.
Absolutely. I think that, you know, like everything in life, an expert is always going to be able to guide you through the minefield much more easily. And particularly in this field of law, you're talking about a lot of expenses in terms of medical reports for doctors and various experts, even actuaries, to quantify and calculate aspects of your case. There's a lot of technicalities, particularly in terms of the new act that came in 2008. So you have some cases that are falling under an old act, some cases falling under a new act, and completely different legal regimes. And so I think that you really are going to be doing yourself a disservice if you don't go to an attorney who specializes in that field of law.
So, Michael, what can you claim for?
There are a number of different things you can claim for, but probably the starting point would be general damages, a lawyer's term for money for pain and suffering, future loss of income, past medical expenses, future medical treatment if somebody's died, loss of support. So there's a number of categories.
So why does one need an expert attorney then?
I think an expert attorney will take you through a case more comprehensively. But for example, I recently took over a case of a guy, let's call him Greg, and he was representing himself. He was negotiating a 75% offer on his case. We got it up to 90%. He was negotiating 106,000 Rand, which sounds dramatic, but not when you discover that his entire spleen was removed and he's had various fractures and possible brain injuries. So, you know, that's something that we'd investigate. We'd bring in all the experts at great expense. You can easily invest 50 to 150,000 Rand in a case, and that type of case could be worth 10 to 15 times more than he's trying to negotiate and settle on his own.
But I guess a lot of people would say avoid the lawyers, avoid the legal fees.
Yes, and by the same token, you could do either your own brain surgery or heart surgery as well and avoid the medical fees, but it's not going to work out very well for you. And in my own experience, really, the false economy of trying to eliminate legal fees really leads to considerably reduced settlements where people haven't investigated aspects of their case that they should have, haven't fought the parts that they should have. They don't know exactly what they should be fighting and what they shouldn't be fighting, and they don't invest their time and their money in the correct things. A lawyer knows what judgments have been given before, what awards have been given by a court, and can guide you much more quickly and speedily towards a proper settlement than a layperson could ever do.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your time and your knowledge. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, pleasure.
So as you can imagine, there's a myriad of things to consider when speaking about these kinds of things. So join us again next week when we delve further into our journey with our legal expert, Michael de Broglio.
Stay with eXpresso and SABC3.